My parents adored my ex-husband and blamed me when he left. Now they're saying I can't raise my own daughter and are threatening to take he. Hi Reddit. I, 31F, am a single mom to a wonderful 7-year-old daughter. I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I need some outside perspective because my own family is making me question everything. So here's some backstory. I used to be married to Jake, 33M, and we were together for about 6 years. We met in college, married pretty young, and had our daughter when I was 24. At first, things were fine, great even. Jake had this charm that made people fall for him easily, and that included my parents. My mom and dad adored him. They saw him as this perfect son-in-law, a strong provider, a real man. And to be fair, he was good at pretending. But behind closed doors, things weren't what they seemed. Jake started growing distant when our daughter was around 3. He worked long hours, rarely came home for dinner, and eventually, I found out he was having an emotional affair with a coworker that later turned physical. I tried to talk to him, suggested couples therapy, but he brushed me off and told me I was too much work. He finally admitted he wasn't happy and left. My parents' reaction? They blamed me. They told me I pushed him away, that I was too emotional, too needy, not supportive enough. My mom actually said, "Men don't just leave for no reason. You must have done something." My dad barely spoke to me for months. Meanwhile, I was grieving the end of my marriage and trying to be strong for my daughter. Fast forward to today, and things have only gotten worse. Over the last year, my parents have been making snide comments about my parenting. They constantly criticize how I raise my daughter, from what she eats. You give her too much processed food, to how she dresses, she needs to look more presentable, to how much screen time she gets. I limit it, but apparently not enough for their standards. They've even started telling me that I'm ruining her. They say she's not polite enough, not feminine enough, and blame me for not disciplining her properly. They say she's too sensitive and too picky, and all of that somehow comes back to me being an unfit mother. Then last week, everything exploded. My daughter had a stomach bug and was throwing up in the middle of the night. I was up with her, holding her hair back, cleaning up, comforting her. You know, doing what a parent does. The next day, I asked my parents, who live nearby, if they could pick up some Pedialyte and crackers for her while I stayed home with her. Instead of helping, my mom launched into a rant. She said that my daughter getting sick so often was a sign that I was not feeding her right. She said maybe it would be better if they took her in, even temporarily, just until she's more stable. I was floored. I told her absolutely not, and that she had no right to suggest that. She got cold and said, "We'll see what the courts say if it comes to that." Wait, what? Are my own parents threatening to try and take custody of my daughter? I haven't been able to sleep since. I feel betrayed, heartbroken, and terrified. I've done everything I can to give my daughter a stable, loving home. We're not perfect, but she's happy, safe, and doing well in school. Her teachers love her. She has friends. She's kind and creative and full of life. And now my parents are trying to paint me as unfit? I don't even know what to do. Do I go no contact? Should I talk to a lawyer just in case they're serious? I never thought my own parents would turn on me like this. Has anyone been through something similar? What do I do now? Comment 1. This is heartbreaking. Girl, first of all, you're doing an amazing job. The fact that you were up at night holding your daughter's hair while she was sick speaks volumes. You're there. You care, and that's what matters. Your parents are emotionally abusive, and I would absolutely take their threat seriously. People like that don't make those kinds of comments unless they're already mentally preparing to follow through. Talk to a family lawyer ASAP, even just to have a record started. Protect yourself and your daughter. Comment 2. Lawyer here. You should definitely document everything moving forward. Texts, emails, phone calls, save it all. If they ever try to petition for custody, you'll need evidence to show they're attempting to interfere without cause. Based on what you described, they have no grounds unless they can prove neglect or abuse, and nothing you've said remotely suggests that. Still, get legal advice specific to your state. Don't wait for them to make the first move. Comment 3. Not trying to be harsh, but why are you still in contact with them? They're gaslighting you, blaming you for your ex's affair, and now threatening to take your child away. That's beyond toxic. I get that they're your parents, but you need to start thinking like a mama bear. You owe them nothing. Your daughter comes first. Block their numbers if you have to. Family is who protects you, not who puts you in survival mode. Update. My parents blamed me for my ex-husband leaving and threatened to take my daughter. Here's what happened next. Hi everyone. First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I cried reading some of your replies. I didn't expect so many strangers to show more kindness and support than my own family. But here we are. Things escalated fast after I made that post. I took your advice and spoke to a family law attorney that same week. I was shaking just sitting in the office. I kept thinking, what if I'm overreacting? What if I'm being dramatic? What if this is all just a misunderstanding? My lawyer looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're not crazy. You're being cautious and smart. He explained that unless there's proven neglect or abuse, grandparents can't just file for custody and win. But what can happen is that they try to manipulate the system, file false claims, or petition for grandparents' visitation rights, which, in some states, including mine, is actually a real thing. So I started documenting everything. Every text, every voicemail, every interaction. I even started recording phone calls, which is legal in my state as long as one party knows, FYI. And then, the other shoe dropped. A week and a half after my post, I got a letter. Not an official court document, but a formal letter from my parents, signed by both of them, saying they were exploring legal avenues to provide a safer and more stable environment for my daughter. They also accused me of emotional immaturity, irresponsible decision-making, and subjecting my daughter to instability. I felt like someone punched me in the gut. These are the people who raised me, who held me when I had nightmares as a kid. And now they were acting like I was the monster. I showed the letter to my lawyer. He said it wasn't a formal custody petition yet, but it was a clear warning. Basically, their way of saying, we're coming. That night, I sat down with my daughter and, in a very gentle and age-appropriate way, told her that some people might say unkind or untrue things about mommy, but that she was safe, loved, and not going anywhere. She just looked at me and said, I know that. You're the best mom. I cried in the bathroom for like an hour after that. Since then, I've done a few things to protect both of us. I went low contact with my parents. I told them that all communication would now go through email or written messages only, and only regarding emergencies or urgent family matters. I informed my daughter's school that no one except me, or a trusted friend I listed, is allowed to pick her up. Her teachers and the front office staff have been amazing. I started seeing a therapist. I needed to unpack a lot of guilt I didn't even realize I was carrying from my marriage and my relationship with my parents. And finally, I filed a cease and desist letter through my lawyer to formally warn my parents against further threats or interference. What really blew my mind was how angry my parents were after that. You'd think someone falsely accused of being unfit would be defensive, but no. They were furious that I had the nerve to take legal steps. My mother called me a selfish brat and said I was breaking up the family. I didn't even reply. So where are we now? Well, they haven't filed anything in court. I think once they realized I had legal support and wasn't going to be bullied, they backed off. But I'm still being cautious. My daughter is doing well. We just started a weekend painting class together, and she wants to make a mom and me art wall. As for me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm grieving. I'm grieving the parents I wish I had. The ones who would have stood by me during my divorce instead of siding with the man who betrayed me. The ones who would love their granddaughter without trying to use her as leverage. But I'm also finally learning that blood isn't everything. And sometimes, being a good mom means setting boundaries, even with the people who raised you. Thank you again, Reddit. You helped me find my voice when I was drowning in doubt.